Hi guys. Okay, I really want to demonstrate how to take measurements for a POM measurement assignment, but I don't have professional camera equipment to like hang from the ceiling, so it's so hard to see. So what I did was I took a photograph of my garment laying flat, and I already took all the measurements, but I'm gonna just demo in Illustrator where I put my measuring tape on my garment. So hopefully this will work, this demonstration for you. So the first measurement, we always want our high point shoulder. Can you guys tell that this is at a slant? You know what? Let's see. I'm going to do File, View, Guides, Ruler, Show. Oh, geez. Try that again. File, View, Rulers. Okay, show my rulers. I pull this out, and this is just a straight horizontal line. You can see that that shoulder is at a slant. This is my shoulder seam. So this dot right here is my high point shoulder. Make sure my guide's in the right spot. Maybe my dress is slightly tilted. I'm going to rotate it a hair. Both of the shoulders should meet at that guide I just put. Okay, now my dress is straight. Just to not play tricks with my eyes, I'm going to make a new box to kind of clipping basket. Okay. That helps out. But okay, so see this guide, my shoulder tips are at the line. This is a perfectly straight line. My shoulder's definitely at a slant. It's slight, but there it is. So you need to find that point on your garment when your garment is flat. And once you find that point, then you can measure the length of your garment. So you start at that point and you put your measuring tape at that point, and then you measure straight down to the hem. Let me see here. I'm going to make my line a little thicker so you can see it. Let's see, window. Da, 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 da. Yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, I'll make it kind of thick like that. And then maybe I'll make them all red too, just to see a little bit better. Oh, that's not working. Okay. Is red a good color? Maybe that's kind of hard to see because it's a pink dress. Maybe blue. I don't know why I'm so picky. Okay. Okay, there we go. I'm going to use in blue. All right, I want to get rid of these tools so they're not distracting. Okay, so I put my measuring tape at the top right there, and I measure straight down, not at an angle, straight down to the very bottom. I did that, and it looks like I got 45 inches. So my front body length, high point shoulder to bottom, is 45 inches. So this is a template. Like I said, you're going to adjust it to your garment. Lucky for me, this first measurement, I don't really need to adjust, so I'm just going to leave it. The next one says shoulder width. So what I measured for that, I measured along this seam line, and I have a seam right here. And also, if we look real close, let's see, I'm going to scoot this line over if it'll let me. Scoot that for a second. Do you see how there's a seam right here? Because I have a little neck trim happening. So I actually want to measure it at the seam from here. And where it says shoulder width, because I'm measuring at the seam, I should type that to let the factory know, or whoever know. So seam to seam. Okay, hit enter. Okay, I'm going to put this line back where it was. Okay. Oops. Maybe I'll zoom in so you guys can kind of see where I'm measuring. So I'll measure right at that seam, not the edge of my trim, but the seam where it was sewn, and then the seam before my armhole there. Okay, so I measured that with my measuring tape, and I got 6.5 inches. So I'll go to Excel, and I'll type in 6.5. Okay, now we're going to measure the across front, 4.5 inches from high point shoulder. So the across front is basically right here. It usually really dictates like the shape of your curve. If you have a sleeve, it's usually at a curve. So doing the across front kind of like it just communicates how deep that curve is. So across front, you have to really be specific about where you're measuring it from. So my template has 4.5 inches. So I could do that. So, so here's a guideline at, I wonder if my guides are locked. Hold on. View guides. No, they're not. Okay. Yeah, it's not. Okay. So I want to move this guide 4.5 inches below my high point shoulder, because this is my high point shoulder right here. Okay, so you'll get your measuring tape and you'll measure straight down 4.5 inches. Okay, so if I were to get a measuring tape, from this point right here to this point is 4.5 inches. Once you know where that point is, then you can measure your across front. So I'm going to go from seam to seam, click that seam, and then I'm measuring straight across to the other seam. Okay. So where this blue line, that's where I measured. And when I measured it, I got, it says I got 22 inches. So I left that measurement the same. I didn't have to change it. I flipped it over and I measured the same spot on the back. I also got 22 inches. Okay, sorry I don't have the demo of the back, but you would flip yours over, or maybe you'd wait till the end and measure the back at last. Chest is, this one is calling the chest measurement to be measured 1 inch below your armhole. Well, this is my armhole. So I go to the bottom of my armhole and I go 1 inch below it. So I'm gonna pull out a guide. Oops, did that work? There we are. So this is my armhole, but I wanna measure 1 inch below my armhole. So if I got some measuring tape, that's 1 inch below my armhole. And for my chest, I'll measure from where my garment starts and stops, a straight line. Okay, so this measurement, this blue line, is 18 inches. And again, I got that measurement because I was using measuring tape on the table, but I don't have the cameras to show you when I was doing it. So I'm demoing it here on the computer for you. Okay, our waist. Now, this template says 6 inches below armhole, but I want to measure my waist where my elastic is. So for me, I'm going to change my template. I'm going to say at elastic casing. Okay. Oh, did I just lose it? What happened? Oh, here, waist. Oh, shoot. What? I hit the wrong thing, didn't I? Let's try that again. Waist. Delete. Okay. At elastic casing. Is that better? Yeah. Okay. So that means I'm measuring it from here straight to here. Okay, and now let's go back here. Oops, get out of that. Okay, so waist at elastic casing. I'm gonna add in another little line here. I'll say copy. I'm going to right click and say insert copied cells. Okay, so waist at elastic casing, I'm going to say relaxed, meaning it's just sitting there. I'm not pulling it. So when I just measured this way, the garment's just sitting there. I got waist. I got 12 inches. But then I also want to measure the elastic when I pull the elastic, so the fabric grain line is going straight up and down. So I'm actually pulling my garment straight just to try to figure out what did this fabric look like before the elastic was inserted. When it was cut out on the fabric, what is that measurement? So I'm actually pulling my garment so that it's straight. So when I'm doing that measurement, oh gosh, sorry, let me go back. Doing the keyboard shortcuts and messing up Excel. My garment was actually over here and here. So those little lines, these stripes that are kind of curving in, they were actually going straight up and down. And my seam was from this point all the way to this point. And when I measured that, I got 18 inches. So I'm gonna go here, waist. Oops, the lights went off, oh well. Okay, so waist, add elastic casing. Instead of relaxed, we're gonna write just fabric pulled straight to green line. So I got 18 inches for that measurement. Okay. They want us to do the hip. I skipped that one for some reason when I measured it. Oops. But, you know, I probably don't really need it. I would probably put my hip right here. So let's see here. If I measure from here to here, I could write down that measurement, but I need to tell Excel where to measure it. So I would probably measure from my waist, my elastic. So I'd probably measure from this point straight to this point, and that might be 6 inches. So I would say my hip, instead of 23 inches from high point shoulder, I might say 6 inches from waist. And then I would put in my measurement, which, let's see, was probably maybe around 23 inches. But I would get my elastic measuring tape and measure that. Okay, bottom opening. That's pretty easy. That's just going to be the very bottom opening, a straight line. In my case, it's straight. If you guys have a garment that dips, you'll want to write the straight opening, and then you'll want to write the distance of how much it's dipping at center front. And again, there's examples in those PowerPoints that are posted in Canvas as well to actually see the photos of how to do that. So I got 28 inches. Okay, front neck drop. Here's my neck drop. I'm going to zoom in. It says our high point shoulder to our low center front. So we know our high point shoulder is right here. Here's our high point shoulder. And then center front is right here, the lowest. So maybe I'll get another guide. I'm going to put the guide at the low part of our center front. Oops, I took away my high point shoulder guide. Okay, there we are. So my high point shoulder guide, I have my low center front guide, and I just need to measure the distance straight down. Okay, so this is my measurement for my front neck drop. And when I measured it, I got 2.5 inches. Oops. Okay, I also want to measure my back neck drop. Now, your back neck drop is not 0. If it was 0, then it would be on your high point shoulder line. But mine is definitely lower, and so is yours. So double check that, be careful. A lot of students think, oh, that it's just a regular neck, it's not dropped. No, it's dropped a little bit for comfort. So I'm gonna copy, oopsies, just got rid of Excel somehow. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna copy this line, and I'm putting it at the seam, and I need to measure from my high point shoulder to my back neck drop. Okay, and that measurement, when I measured it, was 3/4 inch. So I'll type in 3/4. Okay. Now my neck width, you can see here, oh my gosh, it put the date. Really? 0.75. Ah! Okay, so I need to go to Excel. I need to pick this column, format my cells, and I need to make sure it's fractions, not date. For some reason, that one was formatted date. Let's do number, fraction actually. Okay, there we go, 3/4, that's better. Okay, our neck width is gonna be from neckband seam. Great, that's what I'm measuring, so I don't have to add those extra words. So I'll measure it from the neckband seam to seam, the width of it. So that measurement is, maybe I'll even change the color since it is getting like a lot. Okay, so that green line, when I measured it, my width, I got 9.5 inches. Okay. My upper arm width, so I don't have really arms, so maybe I would change this to my, oopsies. Let's look at it. To just my sleeve panel width. And when I measured that, I got 1.5 inches. So just a reminder, what I measured was from here to here, the width of it. Oh, I put that in the wrong spot. Let's do that. Okay, 1.5. And I skipped armhole drop. So armhole drop from high point shoulder. So here's my high point shoulder. Oh, I already have my armhole line there, so let me delete that one. So here's my armhole drop. The lowest part of my armhole is this guide. So to measure my armhole drop, I just need to measure from my high point shoulder guide straight to my armhole, like bottom of my armhole guide. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this. I think I wanna change colors because it's getting to be a lot of blue. Pull up my pen tool, I click from this line and I go straight down with my measuring tape, and the measurement I got was 11 inches. Okay. I don't have an elbow, so I would delete that. I don't have a sleeve. I don't have a sleeve. I don't have my, oopsies, placket. So I'm really done. I don't have any other measurements. I think my garment's pretty simple here. So that's really all I would have to do, and I'm done. I have my measurements. So this is what you need. And then I just need to draw a flat sketch. You can do it on the computer or by hand, but get a sketch in there so we know what these measurements are for, what garment. Draw your sketch, how it would look if you're laying your garment flat on the table. Draw the front and the back as well. One measurement I didn't really talk about because I didn't have the sleeves is the sleeve length. So I'm gonna see if I hit backwards a few times if that will come back. There it is. Okay, it's gonna keep doing stuff. Stop. Okay, so sleeve length. If you notice here, it says from center back. So because if right now, if I measure my sleeve length, I said my sleeve placket was 1.5 inches. You might have a longer sleeve. If you measure it from the seam, just the problem is that if for some reason you were to change the width of your shoulder seam, it's gonna lift up your sleeve. So if you had a long sleeve and you really want the long sleeve to be long, you want it actually to hit your fingers when you're wearing it. And then for some reason you're doing a fitting and you think your neck's too wide, so you change the neck measurement and it brings in your neck. What happens is that it'll also bring your sleeve up. Your sleeve length might stay the same at like 13 inches, but if your neck width is smaller, your sleeve is gonna move on the body higher. So some pattern makers really like to do the sleeve length from center back. I'm gonna get a green tool. Okay, so you would measure your center back and go straight to high point shoulder and then go down to the sleeve length. So this measurement here, it's like a little pivot turn, that would be my sleeve length. That way, if for whatever reason in a fitting I said, you know what, that neck is too wide, let's bring it in, my measure, it'll still have my sleeve length the right length. It's, I don't know how to explain it, but that's the only thing I think that's a little tricky. If you guys come across something you're trying to measure and you have questions, please take a picture, send it to me. I'd love to answer it. Yeah, let's figure this out. This is a really great skill to have to get your foot in the door to a lot of companies. It's very common practice these days. This is how we communicate from the design stage to the pattern stage with factories. So yeah, this is a wonderful skill. I hope you understand it, and if you don't, I definitely want to work with you to get you to understand this. All right, thanks so much.